Well, hello everyone. I'm Jill Bloom, publisher of Roofing Contractor. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching on video or listening on our podcast. Art Eisner and Rick D'Amato of Roofing Contractor and I are here today for a very special interview with GAF, and we are honored to have with us GAF's president, Jim Schnepper, and Dan Boss, Senior Vice President of Research and Development. So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank
it's
you.
Great to be here with you.
Well, gentlemen, thank you again so much for joining us today. And Jim, can you tell us the big news? What's happening?
Sure, I'd be glad to. With Earth Day upon us, I'm really happy to inform you that GAF has successfully produced shingles with 15% recycled material. And how meaningful is that to us is I can't even overemphasize. Our goal was to scale this pilot program across all the networks of the GAF plants, but also to be able to put it across all of the products that we manufacture. And so that all of our products will eventually contain some percentage of post-consumer recycled product. And that would be across every category of shingles. GAF is committing more than $100 million to bring in this recycling process to commercial scale. And it includes the development of a pilot operation that launches this year in 2021 that will enable the company to conduct additional research and development on its processes. So we will end up with 100% of our shingle products having a recycled content.
And Jim, can you tell us a little bit more in detail about what you've researched over the last few years and what GAF has accomplished with this step?
Sure. So we were successful in developing a new patented manufacturing process, honestly, to produce the world's first asphalt shingle containing post-consumer waste. As you probably are well addressed or know that the post-manufactured recycling is something we initially focused on. I think as an industry, most of even my competitors were finding ways to recycle our post-manufactured waste. But the thing that seemed to be most distant from us to be able to accomplish is really that post-consumer waste recycling. And so we put our sights on that pretty heavily. And our recycling asphalt shingle program is really something that we decided we were going to find a way that we could get at least 10 to 20% post-consumer recycled product into our current shingles without sacrificing the quality of the products. And so that was kind of the thesis that we set up. And then we went about trying to figure out how we were going to accomplish that. And I'm going to have Dan talk to you about the two methods or two parts of the processing for us and why that's important to think about really in two pieces. Because as we went to solve this, one thing that I will tell you is I hope that the industry as a whole starts to continue down the paths that they may have already started around recycling, because I do believe it's important that as an industry that we really solve this issue. If we don't, we could potentially be written out of building codes. And just because our products have to end up in either a recycle program of some kind or in landfill. And landfills are starting to fill up, especially because of and due to asphalt shingle waste. So it's only prudent that we figure a path to being able to take these products and not just recycle them in pavement, which has been really the path historically for our products and recycling. As that continues to deteriorate in its usage of using shingles recycled into the pavement, it's creating now this, again, gap of waste and what are we going to do with it from roofing shingles and asphalt shingles. And so solving that has to be done, or we just risk our own existence, right? So that's where we viewed it really 8 years ago, 10 years ago when we first started thinking about it, and then accelerated it, the thinking 5 years ago. And so if you want, I'd like to throw it to Dan just to talk about, because I think it's important that you hear the two parts of this, the dry and the wet processing, and kind of how we're going about doing this. So Dan, I'm going to throw it to you.
Thanks, Jim. So looking back at the efforts in recycling in general, just for a little context at first, I mean, many companies have tried to do this for over the course of decades. And when looking back at the challenges they faced, it was really the balance of affordability and performance of the final product. Efforts would either be focused on getting very clean asphalt or making the cost so low that it was affordable. And that balance was never struck. And when we first started the process, we tried to focus on that sweet spot, be able to get a quality product from at an affordable cost. And so our first version of this, we ran into a problem common in the industry. If you don't remove the granules from the shingles appropriately, you crush the granules, and those are when you create that type of stone dust from the granules, it can degrade the properties of the asphalt and hence the shingles. So the innovation that the team made for the dry process was to really remove the granules from the post-consumer shingles very, very effectively and very efficiently. And so they're removed as the first step, and then the balance of the shingle is ground up and processed, and we actually end up putting it in a briquette that can be transported and handled easily. And so that was a big innovation. So removing the stone dust and the granule contamination from the balance of the shingle enabled us to get a product that did not degrade the properties of the shingle when you add it in at initial levels we're using. And then the second part of it is you need to be able to add it, convert it from a solid to a liquid and add it efficiently into the conventional asphalt shingle process. So those are the two steps that we've developed over the last 4 or 5 years, and that we're now transitioning up to a pilot and eventually larger scale. A dry process for generating a stone dust free asphalt briquette, and then a way to handle and add those briquettes into our current manufacturing process.
And so if I'm following you correctly, then those briquettes will then get broken down again into another substance that will form a new shingle.
They will be added to our current asphalt stream. They'll be melted, added in, and then you put into make our current a new shingle with that recycled asphalt content.
And the thing that's really interesting and that's important to understand also is the amount of the post-consumer we can use. During our tests, we were successful in reclaiming more than 90% of the waste from that shingle material by weight. So 90% that we can then reuse in the manufacturing of the new shingles. It's unbelievable the amount I think that that we're able to capture, and then translate that into putting some percentage of that into our finished good products that then go new into market.
And the 90% encompasses the granule material that we separate out. We can use that back into the shingle. So it's really a very efficient and cost-effective process, which is, I think, the major advance that we've achieved here.
Dan, you've also mentioned, the 15% of recycled material there. Were the 15% and the 90%, were those, goals or benchmarks at all that you tried to achieve? Or is that, are those the numbers that you felt were suitable, at least for this initial phase of what you're trying to do?
The 90%, to be able to recover as much of the post-consumer shingle as possible is always a goal. Is the higher the better, until you strike a balance of diminishing returns. So when you grind anything, there are losses that just happen. And so we are early in the process of scaling this up. We hope to improve our efficiency, but sometimes you break up, the rocks and granules, and some dust is generated. So you lose some dust, and you get different material getting trapped in the different processing steps or lost just in handling. So 90% initial recovery of the post-consumer shingle is a very great starting point. We always want to get towards 100 if possible. And then the 15% addition is a target that we're starting with. It's definitely a starting point. And what we were able to demonstrate is that we could maintain all the properties that we want in our shingles, and the quality and performance and the reliability is maintained. And it's a good place to learn and start from. It's not our end goal. We would certainly like to be able to achieve higher levels, and we're actively working on that in the laboratory, and we'll see how far we can get to increasing that. But it's a great start. It's a lot of material, and it will make a difference as a great basis for starting our work.
Congratulations. I appreciate that GAF is making this investment, and I know it's significant. And I feel like I have to agree with you, Jim. If the asphalt roofing industry doesn't attend to this ability to go cradle to cradle, you're going to wake up gone one morning. So I think it's strong medicine for the industry. I know it's good that you're doing it. So thank you. Dan, what's the cost impact outside of the R&D? I know you're making a big investment to make this happen. What's the cost impact that you're looking at least estimating, when you do start using the briquettes as a regular part of the process?
Well, we're still working through that, but our goal all along here is to have it be affordable. Is if you look at people's buying behaviors, and many people, if you want to be able to make a big impact on recycled or renewable products, you need to be pretty close to cost neutral, because everyone will do it the right thing if there's no financial penalty. So I think that's been our goal, is to make it as close to neutral as possible. And you know, there's still some things we need to validate before I start getting into any specific cost numbers here. But we're confident enough in what we're doing that we want to start scaling it up and demonstrating what we can do, and sharing our ability with the industry that we think we have a path forward here.
Well, another answer to that I think is very meaningful. We want recycled content in all of our products, in all of our shingle products. That's our goal. So we're not going to launch something that's a product at a premium because it's recycled. Our goal is to make that across all of our shingle product categories.
Well, I think that's important. And I think you can look at other industries and see that that's what they've learned. It's important to keep that cost structure in play. People do appreciate that you're presenting them with a product that contains post-consumer goods. I'm not sure how willing they are to pay a whole lot extra for it in many cases. So that's important. I'm glad you're focused on that. The input streams for this, obviously, I would think your asphalt manufacturing plants are where you would locate the processes where you would make the briquettes. Are you going to limit it to, do you see that being a limitation, or do you see these processing plants for the briquettes being really anywhere that asphalt shingles are being taken off roofs?
Yeah,
well, I think as we scale this up, the network that we end up developing to support our goal of getting it everywhere, there are places that generate a lot of post-consumer shingles, and there's an ecosystem that collects them and does something with them a lot of times. And so we want to leverage that, but we have to balance the source and cost of processing with transportation and make the whole system as affordable to ourselves and customers as possible. And so that's what the type of learning we're going through. As we learn, as we do the pilot and then follow on systems, we'll learn more about the economics. We'll learn more about how the ecosystem can help us. And we want to build out that ecosystem that's very cost effective and can meet the very high volumes that we need. I mean, this is not a small volume of material that we or the industry need at the end of the day. And so we look forward to helping to lead the way on building out that capability.
And Rick, can I just add on to that? Again, that's an important question for this reason. When we talk about the two parts of the process, the dry piece and the wet processing, they do not have to be co-located. So those processes can be split up and separated, and more than likely will be, as Dan said, based on where you see the most potential to be able to capture the post-consumer products.
Excellent. Now, Art, if I could just ask one more question, Dan and Jim. Do you see the briquettes being sold into other streams of building products outside of asphalt roofing?
I certainly would like to see them. I think the cleanliness of it and the composition of it, I think will find uses other places. And so that's one of our growth areas and growth targets, is to help develop other applications for it as well. And so we look forward to exploring that with potential partners and collaborators on it to see what else we can do.
Thank you. Art?
Yeah, Dan, I was curious, with the success that you had with the testing, if you could help put some of that into perspective, has anything like this been tried before? You're reaching that 90% level.
As far as other things have been tried before, there has been a long list of companies that have tried to do this, solve this problem before, and with a lot of great technical achievement. The economic success was more mixed, and even our own first efforts was mixed. So this is it's a tough problem to find the right balance. So many people have tried. We've got something we think advances it to the point of utility, and it meets our goals. And we look forward to trying to advance it even further. So this is the beginning of a process, beginning of the journey of a process that appears economic to do. And then as we get into it, we'll advance it, and I hope others help us take it to further efficiencies and lower costs. As far as your second part of the question.
Right. How would you characterize just the significance of this type of investment in an environmental initiative like this for GAF?
One of our largest.
Yeah, it's definitely one of our largest, and I think it impacts a huge opportunity for impacting the sustainability of the industry. I mean, the volume of shingles that go into landfills every year is quite large, and building materials in general have a large footprint in landfills. So even this first target of 10 to 15% is going to make a big dent in that, but there's a long way to go. And so, but I think it's a great commitment from GAF to advance this and move this forward, and it's very exciting to be able to help advance it.
And we do see this innovation really having global implications as well, for improving sustainability across the circularity around and across the roofing supply chain. And so the potential impact of this project, it clearly makes it really the most significant sustainable initiative that GAF's undertaken.
It's exciting. Everything you guys are doing is just monumental. The question I have for you is, what can you tell the industry that will assure contractors that are installing the new shingles that the product will be just as good, if not better?
It's a great question. And that's why we've been very careful about the amount of recycle, that it does not interrupt the quality of our shingles. UL actually came to witness, to make sure and witness and certify us to use this recycling approach to make quality shingles. And they have, and we did receive the certification to do that. So you'll have the full faith and confidence of the GAF organization. And look, Standard Industries continues to push us to be thinking more sustainable and to be able to make these kind of moves, because these are the investments that we believe are the investments that show our commitment to the future of this industry and to the continuation of this industry. And we cannot do that if we were to sacrifice any part of the quality of our products. And so we will stand behind everything that we manufacture and put into market as being the top quality products that we produce.
You mentioned this process being under development for several years. I'm curious about how the COVID-19 pandemic impacted that. Did it slow the process down, or maybe even perhaps act as an accelerator in some regard?
Well, that's certainly a very topical question this last year, and it's kind of fascinating. This team is dispersed anyway. So the participants of the team are all over the country at a number of our locations. And so that team was always working remote. And so it really had minimal impact this year on the team. So they were always collaborating virtually and working with our development partners in that manner. So I don't think it ended up having a material impact or benefit, because we were already working that way on this particular team.
Got it. Jim, why is now the right time to launch such an ambitious initiative like this?
Yeah, so I think that the program comes really at a pivotal moment for the future, as I said earlier, of shingle waste. It's just something that we have to, as an industry, figure out. If you look at paving contractors who previously made up most of where the recycled waste was going, that's been decreasing since the mid 2010s, let's call it. So today you're looking at about 8% of that scrap is going back into paving and being recycled. It's continuing to get smaller and smaller as the years go on. And the trend away from paving presented this opportunity to really now make sure that we got a solution and did it quickly. Because what I didn't want to see is that we were noticing that shingles weren't going into any part of recycling for any use. And that would have just been, I think, a really bad situation for the industry. And so for roofing companies like GAF to lead the way in the circularity and the sustainability solutions for shingles, it just had to happen. And it accounts for, as you think about this, 13 million tons of waste each year. It's a lot of waste. And to think that we weren't going to be working on or trying to find a solution. And look, I can guarantee you we're not the only roofing company working in this area. We all know it. We all know what's in front of us. And so I think that as an industry, you're going to see these products become very commonplace in the very near future, and definitely from GAF as soon as 12 to 18 months from now.
Got it. Well, as we kind of near the midpoint of 2021, I was curious to hear your take on where the industry is right now, how GAF is fitting in, and really with this initiative being a priority going forward, and really an immediate priority for the rest of this year. What's been the attitude internally about committing to this type of a project?
It's interesting. So we, as most companies, do pulse survey to our employees and just really get the sense for what they're thinking about, what's important to them. And it's interesting because sustainability always scores really high with our personnel, as it does probably with most people. But when you say that, what's interesting to me also is Rick said something interesting. Everybody would love to see sustainability. They just think it should be done. But if it increases the cost of our goods, no one wants to buy them for more money because that they are. And so you get this kind of weird place that we're in as a country right now. I actually think that we're solving for that, because I thought if you didn't solve for the cost of it, eventually people will end up saying that they want to pay more because goods and services go up, and you just know that there's a need to recycle. There's a need to pay more money to enable that to take place. But look, this is also a capitalist, market-driven economy, and so you have to stay competitive. And when a company is going to go out and launch like we are right now, we knew that we didn't have a lot of room to pay extra money on our costs if we were going to keep it neutral on the price. And so that was the goal we had, and the team that Dan led to do this, they were successful. And look, I think what we've done will teach others also. So, and I think that there's going to be real excitement around this. I think to talk about in building materials, there's very little recycling going on. And I think this opens up the door. And Rick also asked the question, can you use this for other products? Absolutely. We believe you can. We just have to partner with people who are interested in understanding whether they can also work through these processes in their manufacturing. So we're excited about it. We're excited to solve this issue for ourselves, but more interestingly, to then add this into the pool of other thinking that's been going on over the last, call it 8 to 10 years.
Right. They obviously don't know that they can use it yet without it being out there. I want to switch over to the pilot program and talk about that a little bit. First off, do you have all the contractors that you think you need for that, or will you be seeking more? And what do you hope to get out of that process?
Yeah, so on the pilot program itself, as far as the contractors, we will again put this into market just like we would across our product category. Let's just talk about Timberline being the first one, a product that would start receiving this, and it would go into market just like any of our products. So we do believe that our contractors, obviously anybody who buys our products will be getting this product into their hands. And look, I think it's a great story. I think it's a great story to start telling for numerous reasons. The first one being that our industry is thinking about recyclability, so that anybody who thinks that our products are going to end up going to landfills long-term understand that that's not the case. So I think it kind of hems that and stems off a little bit of that thinking if anybody's heading that direction now. As we know, I think it was Boulder, Colorado, requiring asphalt shingles to be IR impact resistant for their markets for that reason alone, which was there's too much of the shingle waste going into landfill. We need to solve for that. And so their solve for that was to put IR shingles on roofs. That's not good enough for us. I think that now it's time to, again, recycle it. And those products will go right into the same contractors who are buying our products in that market today. But now the story is it has recycled content in it.
As far as what we're going to be learning from this, we had done more discrete unit operations in the development process, running individual pieces of equipment. Now we'll have an integrated system that continuously produces the products at a relatively small volume, but continuously produces. It'll validate the economic model. It'll validate the equipment, allow us to design and scale up the process further, and it'll also allow us to do, instead of doing batches at the one batch at a time at our production facility, we'll be able to increase the production volume, still small, but be able to make it a routine process for us at a manufacturing plant. And then we're going to run with that information and start working on the next steps, and offering options for the company to move forward faster.
Got it. Well, it sounds like you envision this really becoming a differentiator for contractors that want to use it. Is that or a sales component also part of that pilot program? And how will you, I guess, reinforce that aspect to get contractors excited about using it?
Yeah, I think they're going to be very excited just from our initial outreach to those certified contractors who, again, we're encouraging to just enter into the cycle and taking roofs off and putting them into the recycle system that's there today, right? So we're going to continue to encourage them to do that. But also, as consumer expectations for environmentally friendly products increases, which we've talked about already, I think you're going to see that our contractors will be on the forefront of being able to meet that growing demand. I think that the contractors offer a service that allows homeowners to go in now and say, look, Mr. Homeowner, if we can take your roof off, we're going to put it into a dumpster, and we're going to put it back into the recycling program that will then be made into GAF roofs as we go forward. I think that's a really good value proposition. Why wouldn't a consumer want to do that? And I think they'll be very encouraged as a contractor to talk to the consumers about that. It's a huge differentiator for the contractor, especially those contractors with green building expectations, which is really growing on the residential sector right now.
And so what is your timeline, even if it is an aggressive one, to where we will start seeing Timberline or HDZ with this new content, recycled content?
Go ahead, Dan.
The pilot facility will be producing HDZ shingles at one of our plants this year, by the end of this year, with post-consumer content. And then we'll continue to run it in 2022, and we hope to have the plan is to have the first scale process going in 2023. And so there's a very rapid timeline we have, aggressive timeline, and we're running down that path to achieve that.
Okay, and realizing everything is that we're talking about is really a brand new. Where can contractors find out more? Is there somewhere they can find out more right now, or is there another avenue you recommend they look for new information?
I think that they connected to our territory managers in the field will have all the information in their hands to be able to talk about this and to really spread the news and engage our contractors to understand, what is happening to the product. They shouldn't notice, honestly, a difference in the product coming off the line of the future that has recycled in it versus the product today that doesn't. The only great thing about it is it does have recycled content in it in the future. So that's what we'll be talking to the contractors about. They can simply, any questions they have, reach out to their sales channels and get the information that they need.
If I may, Dan, you're going to invite me up to the plant the first time you run those HDZ shingles with post-consumer content in them?
How about the second time? But yes, we'll be glad to invite you when we get it going. We'll be glad to do that.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm coming with them.
Fair enough.
Great.
I did want to ask one more. I think this may sum it up, well too. So I think this this new initiative certainly lines up with other products, other green products that GAF is working with, whether it's your Decotech or what's happening with GAF Energy. So there's definitely, on the product side, there's that connection, which we talked about. On the corporate side, though, this really seems like a extension or validation of your community cares initiative, right? And can you talk about that synergy?
Sure. I think, look, we have this portion of our sustainability embedded inside of our, what we call our communications group and our CSR effort also. And the overlap is, as you said, really there's no nuance to it. It's pretty direct. We are committed to making the lives of our employees and the people who buy our products better in some way. And it touches on numerous dimensions of people's lives. Sustainability is important to GAF, and we're talking about it. We're talking about in our community work that we're doing, from everything from helping communities build the resources that they need for either recycling or for more broadly taking care of their citizens in their areas. But when we say that we protect what matters most to people, we're making sure we live that in every aspect of this, whether it's our customer relationships, whether it's our corporate resources going into social responsibilities. We cover the gamut, and we're committed to it.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations to GAF and both to you, Jim and Dan, for such a big announcement. And we're excited to help share that news. If anybody has any questions, make sure you can get more information at gaf.com. If you also want to reach out to us, you can find out some more information at roofingcontractor.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our free e-newsletter, our free e-magazine, register for our website so you can always be up to date on all the great breaking news that's happening that's right now. And please, again, stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to talking to you next time.